Welcome to this hands-on explainer. Today, we're going to demystify web development and literally guide you step by step to build your very first web page from scratch. Look, if you've ever stared at a beautifully designed website and thought, wow, that is completely out of my league, well, you are absolutely in the right place. Today is all about the absolute beginners. We're going to strip away the complex jargon, look at the bare bones, and give you the exact blueprint you need to start constructing your very own digital space. Let's get into it.
So, have you ever wondered what actually makes a website work behind the scenes? Well, we're going to peel back the curtain on that blank screen to reveal the, quite honestly, magical instructions that browsers read to create the sites we all know and love. It is so easy to assume there's some impossibly complex machinery at work, right? But the truth is, a web page is essentially just a text document. That's it. Browsers like Chrome or Safari are really just translators. They read basic text files and display them as the graphics, text, and interactive elements we click on every single day.
Here is our blueprint for today's construction project. We're looking at 1. The web's building blocks, 2. Setting up your workspace, 3. Writing your first HTML, 4. Adding content and tags, 5. Styling with CSS, and finally, 6. Next steps for beginners. Section 1. The web's building blocks. Every single website you visit relies on a trio of core technologies. Think of it like building a house, or even the human body. First, you've got HTML. This gives your page its structure. It's the concrete foundation and the wooden framing of your digital house, or the skeleton and bones of a body. Without it, you basically just have a puddle. Then we have CSS. This makes everything look beautiful. It's the interior design, the paint, the wallpaper, or your skin and clothing. Finally, there's JavaScript, which makes things interactive. This is the electricity and plumbing in the house, or your brain and nervous system that lets you reflexively react to things, like clicking a button. You can build a house with just HTML, for sure, but to make it a place people actually want to visit, you really need all three.
Section 2. Setting up your workspace. Now that we know the theory, it is time to put on our hard hats and set up our actual digital construction site. You might think you need to buy expensive, complicated software to get started, but let's go ahead and debunk that right now. The crucial takeaway here is that you absolutely do not need fancy tools to be a web developer. A basic text editor is literally all you need to start pouring your foundation. If you're on Windows, you can just open up Notepad. On a Mac, TextEdit works perfectly. Just make sure you set it to plain text. These incredibly simple programs are exactly where you're going to write your instructions for the browser.
Okay, so once you open your text editor, you'll just type out some basic text and then navigate up to the File menu and hit Save As. This is the exact same process you'd use for jotting down a quick grocery list, but the real magic happens in the very next step. By simply typing index.html into that file name box, you are completely transforming a regular, boring text document into a file that your web browser can actually read and display. That .html extension, that's the secret handshake. It tells your computer, hey, don't open this as a plain text file, open this in my web browser. And we use the word index because web servers traditionally look for an index.html file to use as the default homepage of any given website. Moving right along to Section 3. Writing your first HTML. With our workspace ready and our files saved, let's start framing the walls of our digital house using HTML. It's time to learn the syntax, which is basically the grammar of the web. Think of these angular brackets as little containers that tell the browser exactly what kind of content lives inside them. Almost everything in HTML is wrapped in these tags. You've got an opening tag with angle brackets, the actual content you want the user to see right in the middle, and then a closing tag. That closing tag looks exactly like the opening one, except it has a forward slash right before the word. That little slash simply means, hey, this is the end of the container. Let's see how these tags actually build the core structure of an HTML5 document. Right at the very top, you'll see a doctype HTML tag. This is really just a formal declaration to the browser. It's telling it, expect a modern HTML5 blueprint. Right after that, the entire web page is wrapped inside one giant HTML container. And inside that main container, we break things down into two main rooms, the head and the body. Now, the head section is specifically for hidden metadata. This is where you'd put the title that shows up in the Browser tab at the very top of your screen. But keep in mind, nothing in the head section actually shows up on the page itself. The body tag, on the other hand, well, that's the actual room where all your visible content lives. Simply put, if you want your user to see it, read it, or click it, it has to go inside those body tags.
Section 4. Adding content and tags.
Now it's time to actually fill our house with furniture using some of the most common HTML tags.
This list is essentially your developer's tool belt. It gives you the specific tags you need to add titles, text, clickable links, and images. Want a giant main title? Just wrap your text in an H1 tag. Want a smaller subtitle? Use an H2. Need to write a whole block of text? You'll use the P tag for a paragraph. The A tag stands for anchor, and that's what creates hyperlinks connecting your page to the rest of the web. Oh, and the div tag? That's just a general-purpose box used to group things together, which becomes absolutely crucial later when we want to organize our layout.
Here is a really fun fact. Remember, code is just text meant for both humans and computers to read, so you can actually use comments to leave friendly little reminders for yourself as you build. By wrapping your text in an angle bracket, an exclamation point, and 2 dashes, you make that text completely invisible to the website visitor. It's a fantastic way to write a note to yourself saying something like, "Hey, this section is for the navigation bar." That way, when you come back to your code 3 weeks later, you know exactly what you were doing.
Which brings us to Section 5, Styling with CSS.
Okay, so our HTML house is built, but let's be totally honest here. An unstyled HTML page looks a lot like a boring Word document. It's a bit plain, which means it is time to paint the walls using CSS. The anatomy of a CSS rule is incredibly simple, actually. It works on a very basic logic. Find an element and then apply a style to it. You pick a selector, like H1, to target all your main headings, and then inside curly brackets, you declare properties like color and give them values like gold. It is literally just asking, what do I want to change, followed immediately by, how do I want to change it?
And this reveals the true power of CSS. It allows you to target any HTML element, whether that's a paragraph, a heading, or a specific class you've created, and completely change its background color, font size, and text alignment without ever having to touch the original HTML structure. Think about that. This means you can change the entire look and feel of a massive website just by tweaking a few lines in your CSS file. You can make the background blue, make the borders thick and solid, change the font to Helvetica, and you do all of that from one central command center. It's a real game changer.
Section 6. Next steps for beginners.
You now have the fundamental knowledge to build the HTML skeleton and style it with some CSS skin. So, how do we keep growing your skills from here? Well, the absolute best way to level up is by tackling practical beginner projects. Think about building a to-do list, or maybe a simple calculator. These specific types of projects slowly introduce JavaScript for interactivity. Remember our house analogy? You've built the house, you've painted it, but now you need to add the electricity. Building a digital clock teaches you how JavaScript handles real-time updates. A weather app teaches you how to pull external data from other servers. The key is, don't try to just memorize a textbook. Just start building these tiny, fun projects. You have the blueprint, the tool belt, and the raw materials. So what kind of digital house will you build first? Seriously, grab your text editor, start experimenting with those HTML tags and CSS colors, and I promise you, you are going to be amazed at what you can construct on your screen. Every single master developer out there started exactly where you are right now, staring at a blank notepad file. Start small, make mistakes, have fun making incredibly ugly color combinations with your CSS, and just keep building. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy coding.